Hello, hello, it's Business Partner. Unit 7, Working Abroad. Lesson 7.4, Part A, Business Skills, Relationship Building. Very nice, very nice lesson, because this is much more than only talking about work, career development, but we are going to learn how to become better people, how to listen well to others, how to interact, how to make friends, and this should interest everybody. So why don't you strike your finger on the like button, subscribe to the channel, and let's go to the lesson. We are aware of strategies for building relationships and can use phrases to keep a conversation going. Is it hard for you to start a conversation? Is it hard for you to keep a conversation going? So tell me in the comments, please. Look at the first part here. Work in pairs and look at the topics in the box. Family, hobbies or interests, professional experience and qualifications, politics, relationships, religion, sport, travel, weather, work. Which do you talk about when you meet people for the first time? Which do you avoid talking about? My grandmother used to say, I don't discuss religion, politics, and soccer or football. It was funny because she avoided to discuss those topics in order to keep good conversations. She wasn't very successful sometimes, but she was a very nice person. I miss her a lot. And we have here some problems if we try to talk about politics, if there's too much polarization. If you talk about religion as the owner of the truth, or if you talk about sports where there's too much violence or rivalry, I don't know. But talking about traveling, people usually like to talk about that. The weather, well, it's very common talking about the weather, right? But usually your relationships don't go too deep if you talk only about that. Work, okay? For example, you or the other person, someone is traveling for work, and maybe that's very suitable. But family, hobbies and interests, professional experience, qualifications, have you talked about that? What's your favorite topic of conversation when you meet a person for the first time? Maybe it depends on the person, the situation, but why don't you write in the comments, please? How do you build relationships with new people in a social situation? For example, at a dinner. Some people would like to talk to others in a situation like that. Some others would feel shy. How do you feel? Tell me, tell us. Let's share our feelings about that. I usually don't feel very uncomfortable. I usually try to make friends with people. It's nice, it's part of life having new people in our lives. Work in pairs. Look at the list of strategies for building relationships with new people and discuss which do you think are the most important. Well, in the live lesson, you are going to talk about this, but let's read them and think for a minute about them. Look, strategies for building relationships. Be interested and ask questions. Yes, show genuine, real interest on the other person, but not like you don't want to make the person uncomfortable, but show interest. Be careful. Your interest doesn't sound like interrogation, like you start asking questions and more questions and the other person feels like uncomfortable. Don't make assumptions about people from the first impressions you have of them. Oh, the person is too shy. Oh, the person was rude. Maybe they are from a different culture. So people behave in different ways, as we have already seen in some videos in this unit. And maybe they are thinking the same about you, right? So let's try to be positive. Take time to get to know the other person. So if you show real interest, you want to listen from the other person in about something that the person feels comfortable about talking about. Think about how they behave and the possible reasons why. Like the person only answers uh, with short answers. Is the person feeling comfortable? So try to understand, try to analyze that and be positive. Try to make the other person more comfortable. Find out and talk about things you have in common. For example, interests, family. Nobody said we don't have in the list, but it's very popular talking about pets, for example. For younger people, talking about games, video games, things like this. If possible, adapt your usual communication style to be closer to the other person's. Try to talk about things the other person wants to talk about. That's essential, I think. Well, here we are going to listen to two parts of a conversation and then how the person in the end thinks about the experience. The first part here, listen to the beginning of an informal dinner at an international networking event. Let's listen. Pay attention, please. Here.
Unit 7, Recording 2, Part 1.
Hello. Hi, I'm Peter. I'm from D2 Logistics. I'm Tadashi. Nice to meet you, Tadashi. So, I'm a finance specialist. What do you do? Are you working on any interesting projects?
I'm in marketing. I design marketing campaigns.
Oh. So what do you think of the elections? Who do you think will win?
I don't know.
But you must have an idea. What do you think?
I'm not sure.
Oh,
Hi, I'm Pilar.
hello, Pilar. It's nice to meet you. I'm Peter.
It's nice to meet you too, Peter.
Hello, I'm Tadashi.
So, Pilar, what do you do?
I'm an accountant during the day and I play in a local band at weekends in Mexico City. That's where I live at the moment. We practice a lot during the week, which doesn't give me too much time with my family. I have two brothers and we all still live at home.
You are an accountant, really? I am a finance specialist. Who do you work for?
Oh, I work for ACC Products. I'm a property accountant.
Okay. I don't know much about property. Well, I think I'll go back to the buffet to get some
Look, which topics does Peter try to talk about with Tadashi? What are the topics? Basically, work and politics, right? What topics do Peter and Pilar mention? Work, hobbies and interests, Pilar's interests about playing music, and family, right? Which strategies from exercise 2A does Peter use? These strategies here. Would you say that he is interested and asks questions? Yes, he did that, right? And find out and talk about things you have in common, like work, right? He also tried other things. But was he careful? Your interest doesn't sound like interrogation. Like he asked about politics to Tadashi, he said, I don't know. And then he insisted on that. Do you think Tadashi felt comfortable about that? Don't make assumptions about people from the first impressions you have of them. I don't know, but what did he think about Tadashi and Pilar? What did they think about Peter? Take time to get to know the other person. If you start asking too many questions, maybe the person doesn't feel very comfortable about opening themselves. Think about how they behave and possible reasons why. Tadashi went back to the buffet. He was it was a bit hard for him to speak English, wasn't it? Wasn't it? Find out and talk about things you have in common. He tried to talk about work, right? But I thought it was funny when Pilar started talking about music. She was very excited about that, and he didn't even give any importance. If possible, adapt your usual communication style to be closer to the other person's. Did he do that? What do you think? Try to talk about things the other person wants to talk about. It seemed to me that Pilar wanted to talk more about music than about accounts. And I don't know, what does Tadashi want or would like to talk about? I don't know. But now, let's listen to the next part of the conversation. How does Pilar adapt to make the conversation more comfortable for both Tadashi and Pilar? How does Peter do that? Which topics do they talk about and which strategies from 2A does Peter use? Does he improve his communication?
Unit 7, Recording 3. Part 2.
So, Tadashi, you are in marketing. What sort of campaigns do you design?
I'm working on one at the moment for a hotel chain. We are making ads that will run in planes. On the little screens. Is that okay?
Sure. That project sounds really interesting. I saw ads like that the last time I flew on holiday.
Maybe they were my ads.
Yeah, maybe. It's a very good place to run ads. Everyone on the plane sees them.
Yes, we try to make the ads specific to the country, if possible. And we always try to put in a little humor.
Ah, yes. Flying and going through airports can be stressful. It's good to have a little humor.
So, Peter, where did you go on holiday?
I went to Brazil. It was a very long flight, but I had a really nice time with my family. It was a special trip for my father's 60th birthday.
Great.
You know, I also have two brothers like you. One older and one younger.
So you're in the middle then.
Yes, that's it.
So, how does Peter adapt to make the conversation more comfortable for both Tadashi and Pilar? Well, now he goes deeper in Tadashi's interests and in Pilar's interests, right? Like he talked about family, his family. He talked to Tadashi about advertisement, right? So if Tadashi doesn't know much about accounts, they talked about other things that they all could understand. Which topics do they talk about? Well, I talked about that, right? Tadashi's work, Peter's holiday and family. And which strategies from exercise 2A does Peter use? Why don't you tell me? You have the list here and you write in the comments what he was successful at. how he changed the situation. And let's go to the last part. Let's listen to Peter later that evening talking about what happened. What conclusion does he reach about first impressions, and which points from the list in exercise 2A did he think about?
Unit 7, Recording 4, Part 3.
Well, that was a really nice evening. At the beginning, it felt a bit awkward. It wasn't that easy to talk to Tadashi or Pilar. I thought that Tadashi's English wasn't very good, and that he was shy and insecure. But I was making assumptions, and I was wrong on both points. He was quite fluent and very enthusiastic when we were talking about things he likes and he's good at. He thinks a lot about what other people say before he reacts. When I realized that, I stopped talking so much. Then he had more time to think. And he spoke more, too. And Pilar, I didn't really take her seriously at first. I thought she just wanted to talk about her free time. But when I stopped talking about work and talked about my family and travel, the conversation really developed. We connected more. And then it was easier to find out more about her job and what she does. I guess first impressions can often be wrong, especially with people from different cultures. Anyway, I'm glad I adapted my approach and got to know them a bit better.
Have you already heard that we have only one opportunity to make a good impression? Well, that might be true. So there are some people that will follow their instinct and only believe in the first impression and make assumptions. But Peter learned that it isn't very nice to do that. So my suggestion is try not to trust in your first impression. Let's try to give a second chance to go further, to give more time and opportunities for the person to show who they really are, how they think, how they behave, what they like. Yes, think about it. And which points from the list did he think about? Well, he now mentions some points, like here, he was interested in people, and then he was careful. His interest doesn't sound like interrogation. He doesn't mention that. But look, don't make assumptions. He does talk about that. And then think about how they behave and the possible reasons why. Like Tadashi's English, he mentions directly that, right? And find out and talk about things you have in common, like family. He did that with Pilar. And work with Tadashi, like how he feels when he sees ads and things. If possible, adapt your usual communication style to be closer to the other person's. Like Tadashi needed longer pauses, and he stopped talking too much, and he started giving him more opportunities to speak. I remember a teacher here in Brazil that he said that Brazilians tend to speak at the same time, and the other one will stop speaking when you speak louder. And then the other person has an idea, and the person is going to speak with you and louder, and then you should stop and listen to the other person. And then I believe that Tadashi would never speak, and he would think, wow, what a mess of this conversation, and how Brazilians are impolite. But this is the way Brazilians speak. That's not impolite here. It's different and we can adapt. And I would like to know more about Tadashi and meet him, and we could be friends even if we have these differences in culture. Look at 8. Try to talk about things the other person wants to talk about. That's essential, I think. But to finish the lesson, we have this keeping a conversation going. We have the initial question, a response, and a follow-up question or comment. Look at the example from part 1 of the conversation, then match to the sentences, or these sentences 1 to 5 to responses A to E, and follow-up questions or comments I to V, or 1 to 5 in Roman numbers, to show how to make links in conversations. All right? What do you think of the elections? I don't know. But you must have an idea. What do you think? Not very good approach. What do you do? I'm an accountant during the day and I play in a local band at weekends. What would you say about after that? What would you say? Maybe that, oh, great. Or, you're an accountant, really? I'm a finance specialist. Who do you work for? Right? I would say this one. What sort of campaigns do you design? I'm working on one at the moment. We are making ads that will run in planes. That project sounds really interesting, and the person wants to keep talking about. Where did you go on holiday? I went to Brazil. Great! She says great, remember? Pilar says. You know, I also have 2 brothers like you. So you're in the middle then. Yes, that's it. And that's it. This is part A of the lesson. Don't miss the next video that will talk about part B of the lesson. And it will also be very interesting. But let's try to adapt our conversations and use these strategies for building very good relationships. See you then! I hope you really liked. Strike the like button, subscribe to the channel, and see you in a video in the future. Bye bye!